We got a ways to go. We're only a quarter way there.
He's only lived there for 3 months.
Oh, no kidding.
I don't know what's gonna happen tonight.
Well, have you ever been in that house?
No.
I've been in that house. The lady used to own it. She lived in there by herself.
You say yes, Savannah?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the November Cypresswood Community Association meeting to order. Mr. Secretary, can you please do the roll?
Club Patio.
Here.
Cypress Pond.
Here.
Eagle Pond Condos. Enclave.
Here.
Fairway Patio.
There.
Garden Patio.
Here.
Golf Villas.
Here.
Greenfield Village.
Here.
Meadows.
Here.
Oak Grove.
Here.
Palmacia.
Here.
Plantations.
Here.
Sand Hill Lane.
Here.
Villas on the Green.
Here.
Okay, we have a board.
Who is the Golf Villas representative?
That's feeding back. Yeah,
It's feeding back again?
it's like crackly.
It's crackly. Well, he adjusted it wrong way. Thank you.
That's a technical term.
Like a cereal.
Hello? Anybody? Any better? Okay, so much for new mics. I'll holler. Oh, is that better? Hey, I just have to get it farther away from my face. How about that?
Where they're at,
Um,
all the way down.
did Golf Villas, do they have a representative here? Could you please, or you want to be social, you want to, if you want to say, if you have a seat at the, with the presidents, that hole there, if you'd like, I know,
I thought so.
thank you. Next slide, please, Savannah. That's much better. I need a motion and a approval for tonight's meeting agenda, please.
So moved.
Mr. Cramp, a second. Mr. Shire, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I am not sure where I'm supposed to be. Next slide, please, Savannah. We do need a motion and a second for the last meeting, November 4th is I'm going to struggle with this, so I'm going to talk loud until it catches us. For the November 4th meeting, for the minutes of that November 4th meeting, before we get to the resident comments. Does anybody want to make such a motion? Mr. Shire, Mr. Brett, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is the residents' comment section. We have one person that has asked to speak to the board, and it's Diane Malone. It's somewhere here.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I just have a question. I was in a conversation with one of our residents here just a few short weeks ago. And can anyone tell me who Garrison Property Services, who they are?
I can.
Okay.
You need to, because you're on. Don, you need to come up, please.
Garrison Property Management is a CAM service. They're based out of Dundee. They are right over on Highway 27, just north of 27 Dundee. What do you want to know about?
Do they have any responsibility out here in our neighborhood,
Which neighborhood?
our community?
They take care of Greenfield Village as far as the CAM is concerned. I'm not sure if they do any others. Though.
Okay, so they're just within your HOA?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that answered my question.
Okay.
Okay, is that paid for by your HOA?
Yes, it is.
Okay, That's all I needed.
Is there an issue with them?
No,
Okay.
no, I was told in my conversation, it didn't say they were exclusive to your HOA. And so it appeared that, you know, I was thinking it was for the entire community.
Understood.
Okay, but if that's something your HOA has decided upon, then that's, you know, that's up to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next slide. Next slide, Savannah. Treasurer Advisory Committee, Mr. Tucker, please. You figure out where
How do you use that?
Well, I don't know. I'll try.
Can everybody hear me without that?
Yes.
All right, then we'll just talk without. The balance sheet for October, the month ending October 31, 2020, operating cash ended at 123.7. Reserve cash 595.1. Current assets 93.2. Total assets $822,900. The liabilities, we have two majors. It's two loans, as we all well know. The first loan has a balance of $916,000. The second, $873,900. Reserve accounts. General reserves, $154,500. Road reserve, $264,600. Stormwater, $138,000. Interest reserve, $16,600. Front end entrance, $16,100. And traffic building, we have a reserve of $3,000. We have undesignated cash and general. Those are two lines combined from the top area is $278,200. Income and expense year to date. Revenues, all of the dues are paid, all of the assessments are in for the last quarter, so the total is $258,700. Grounds is better than budget by $10,600. That means they haven't spent $10,600 that they were budgeted. Doesn't mean that they won't, but they haven't year to date. Drainage is over budget by $85,200. We've spoken about that during our workshops. Traffic is under budget by $5,200. G&A under by $1,700. Total reserves accrued $388,000. Revenues versus expenses, we are net to the bad side, $51,500. Any questions, please?
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Savannah, next slide, please. Landscape Committee, Mr. Wilson, come on down, please.
Thank you. All the projects we talked about in October have been completed. We've got the material, the planning and the light bulb been replaced where the accident occurred. That is now behind us, and the Master Association is working with the insurance company to be sure all of that is taken care of. We're going to do the best we can with the fence along Dundee Road. As you can tell, that is getting a very interesting set of construction programs going on out there. We'll probably have to do any of it we can do. We'll have to do from the inside, and we'll just have to work on that. That's normally done 3 times a year. We just completed it in the first week of November, so that when the golf course opened back up, everything was ready to go. We have just a few little detailing projects other than the normal cutting maintenance that goes on that we're going to do for the end of the year. They're more detailing than anything else. So we'll be wrapping up the year pretty soon. And last but not least, if you get to the southern part of Cypresswood along the boulevard, you'll see that the water plant looks 100% better now that the city came in and spent 2 days in there and cleaned it up. And I would like to personally thank Mark for having a little chat with the city of Winter Haven to make sure all of that got done, and it looks great. Thank you for all your help on that. If there's no questions, that's all that I have at this point.
Oh, you got a question?
Yes.
Is there any, and Mark is sitting right here, is there any intention on the city to put some irrigation around the plants? That they did the landscaping, which is what, the lack of that.
They're responsible for everything inside of that. Mark, you may want to address that.
Yeah, my day assured me this time, they did this one at a time.
Yeah.
And then after they did it, they just let it go.
Right.
And they assured me this time they'll maintain it. They have an outside contractor now maintaining the property instead of city employees. And so they'll say they'll make sure the plant, because they said the last time they planted all those podocarpus, they'll let them all die.
Yeah, nobody born.
Yeah, So now they put in, you're right, and this time they said they'd maintain them. So we'll see.
Sometimes you have a little talk with the city of Winter Haven, and Mark knows just the language to use when that has to happen. He encourages them to get out there just as quickly as possible and make it happen. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Next slide, please, Savannah. Traffic control, there is no report. Mr. Reese is tending to a family matter, so unless anybody has any questions that I can relay to him, to his committee. Okay, next slide, please. Road and drainage, Mr. Shira.
This thing's kind of scary. It works and it doesn't work. Road and drainage, currently the pumping system on 15 and our main pump, which we call the south pump, have been used recently. We've had really quite a bit of rain in the community. Those systems are operational. We did have our auxiliary pump over on 15. We've since taken that away. Our hurricane season ends in 2 weeks, so those threats go away. We anticipate that during this year we will deinstall the pump on number 15 and replace that with a new system. Mark's been working on getting this thing pulled together for better than a year now. The costs are exceptional. They're nowhere near what we're capable of funding with our reserves. In lieu of that, we're bringing in another contractor who does complete systems and do a package deal. We hope to meet with him this week. We should hear from him, I think, tomorrow, and have them come up so they can get a bid pulled together for us. We'd like to get the install on this done probably before May. Yeah, before May, given it's got to be done in the dry time. You can't get it done in the wet time. Most of the cost is due to the restoration work that we have to do to get the equipment in to deinstall the one and install a new one. Beyond that, we've not really had any failures in the drainage system. Had a few minor things going on here and there. And that's all there is. If anyone has anything specific they want to report, please see me after the meeting and we'll take notes.
Are there any questions right this second, Mr. Shire? No? Okay. Next slide, please, Savannah. Amenities Committee. Mark, please.
Well, I'm happy to report the golf course is open. Yay! I'm also happy to report that our first tournament went over very well. Now, it's one of those things where you may have thought everything was absolutely smooth. It was, if you looked at the duck on the water and not his feet going really fast underneath. But it really did go well. And I would tell you how many new golf memberships we have, but that number changes every day. So I'll have to get Bob to help me out.
Over 50 right now.
Yeah, to help me out with that. That wraps up most of what the Amenities Committee has been working on for about 2.5 years now. We still have on our long-range plan, our 5-year plan, other recreational areas to complete. But for those people out in Zoom land and you board members, you know that the decision was made intentionally, not by default, but intentionally to tighten up on our belts next year. So therefore, there's not money to go ahead and redo the pool and begin to work on the tennis courts. That's not a complaint. I just want everybody to be, you know, on the page that that's where we are. We can still finish in our 5-year plan if COVID goes away and we get more golfers and we can generate some more funds.
Next slide, please, Dennis.
Hi Zoom, I'm waiting on the slide. There we go.
You want me to, you good?
Yeah, I just want to toss out, I want to go over this because the RAC amenities budget is a huge portion of the budget, and people have been confused about where the money went and when do you get it and when do you get to spend it, okay? Let's start out by saying I do not get a bunch of money just to spend. I never actually get the money. It's assigned for amenity spending and it's asked for after it's been approved. So if you start off at the top, the 2020 assessment for the amenities was $318,300. That was just for the amenities, and that came out of the that portion came out of the $700 dues of 2020 for each unit. Okay? We also had the loan balance of $1 million. That's the second loan. So those were the funds available to work on with amenities during the year of 2020. Now, I'm not going to rattle all of these off. I'm sorry, Zoom, I have to get a little closer. The long list here are all the things that were individually approved by this board as they were done. For example, we had a draw, the first draw for the golf course renovations of $157,000. Okay? That was the first draw when that became due. Later down the road, we had a second draw. This is the Greens project. That became due. We have our June request, July request, August request. Now these are not itemized in this list. They were when they were presented. Those things represent the request for herbicide, fertilizer, insurance, repair and maintenance, taxes, all those other things. They're just not itemized on this list. Non-payroll expenses. Obviously, if you can see this, when you look at golf course renovation, cart path, another draw for renovations, most of it went straight into the golf course in one way or another. Now, what is a little unusual, but did come up in 2020, was the roof replacement. We were fortunate. We were able to get, hold it closer, okay. We were able to get our roof replaced by us having to only pay the deductible. We did not plan on that. Those of us on the committee have been sweating bullets about having to redo that roof and when it would be done. As it turned out, it had enough wind damage, the whole roof was re-roofed, new roof, and the, where is it? $25,140 was the deductible. Now that was significantly less than getting a new roof would cost. Okay, they're playing with my mic. This is fine, okay. Tree trimming, touching up, basically wear and tear on the clubhouse. All of these items together, when you total them up, come up to $1,235,000 and a little bit more. I say a little bit more because people out, you can look at the chart. okay? Those were the projects that were approved. Now, the way this works is, let's go back to that 318 at the top, okay? That's what the RAC was given to spend on amenities. When something comes up and we have a project, we bring it to this board and this board votes on it. Much like Bill might say, I'm going to pave a section of the boulevard. You don't pay him in January, he's going to do it in July. You wait till the job's done and you pay it in July. It's a similar fashion. So in other words, when I've come up with all these various requests at different times for a whole lot of other non-payroll items, those were budgeted items previously. I was just requesting the funds at the time that it was to pay them, or at the time when we were finishing a project and time to pay the vendor. Okay, now that leaves us right now with $82,656. Now the problem is that's not really left over.
Next slide, please.
Next slide. But I want you to wait a minute before you go. Did everybody understand that on the board? Did any of you have a? I mean, I'll sit down. We can go over any of those numbers if you want to.
And we'll send it out tomorrow so you have it, you know.
I mean, you need to have it in front of you.
No, Martha,
Yes.
I don't want the microphone. It's important though, when you point out the 318,000, the amenities committee doesn't have 318,000. It's less debt service.
Sure.
And
Yes.
that's what, and everybody needs to, every time you say it,
You're right.
we all need to keep that in mind. We don't have 318,000.
Right.
Yeah, Mike is right. When we start out with 318,000, the first thing we have to do is subtract the principal and interest for the two loans. Bill or Ben, what's that?
182.
182,000. That comes right off of that. Then that's what's left that you can start making improvements with and change. I am rounding. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right. This shows you the balance to cover expenses in 2019.
Let me do a little.
You want to do a little of that?
Well, because,
Okay. I'll stay over to the side.
That's okay, yeah. Only because I'm inside these numbers almost every day, if not every day. There's a question asked by Mr. Brett as a board member about how do we get to the operational reserve number? And it's basically this spreadsheet coming down to that number. So all these projects, as they're realized, operational reserve, repair maintenance, all those items we talked about, all these budgeted items, including the interest on the notes, the principal, the golf course aggregate, all those things are broken out, create a budget variance both ways, and this is the difference that we're asking to cover that. So that's why the amenities request through the 13th is $66,000. Which would leave us with a remaining balance for the remaining 6 weeks of the year of approximately $16,000. So if you look at this number here, this $57,000 that was approved in January of 2020, at the January 2020 meeting, that basically covered that period of time that the board doesn't generally meet, because we generally don't meet in December. So that's that 6 weeks or 7 week period of time. So that's covered. So when you start to take the 318, which will be more next year, of course, but taking out the debt service, then that comes out, and that essentially leaves. And that's where we kind of got to those numbers of where the assessment should be to adequately cover the expenses. So it's important to kind of these numbers kind of wash out as they're spent. So we've counted the cart pass as spent even though it's in the work. So we've done that because it makes this number clear. And it makes the request tonight $66,000. And that's what you normally do. You see just the broad number or the broad request, and it comes up to 66. And Mr. Brett asked for a little bit more detail. And that is the detail. That is how the CAM produces the spreadsheet, that is a spreadsheet. You can see the grid lines, and that's the way it kind of fans out, and then she tells us you need to ask for X. And so X this month is $66,000, which will leave a balance, if you will, of an estimated $16,000 for the remainder of 2020, before the new assessment hits at the beginning of 2021.
I want to make 2 points.
Sure.
2 points that we need to understand. Number one, we had to take out the balance of that second loan. We have to draw all of that by the end of the year. Okay?
We will.
Which we will. But I'm just letting you know, there's not $150,000 that wasn't spent that we can use next year. Can't do that. It all ends December 31st. The second thing is, when we began January 1st, and I do not have that figure in front of me, but the amenities portion of what was agreed upon at the budget workshop is $400 and something per unit. We have to remember that the first thing we do from that going into January is subtract $182,000. That's P&L on the loan. That happens automatically. That is just like in each one of our HOAs, the first thing we do in January is subtract that quarterly payment to the CCA. Okay? I have been asked before why you can't do why don't we do zero-based budgeting? We cannot do zero-based budgeting. We cannot budget to zero at the end of the year. Even though in this case we have to get all of our loan funds out by then. We cannot zero-based budget because we have to be ready in our HOAs to make the first quarterly payment to the CCA January 1st. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Casson, did you have a question or a comment?
Was it P&L or P&I?
P&I, it was P&I.
It was
P&I,
P&I.
sorry.
She was a couple letters off in the alphabet. We'll give her a pass on that one.
Not profit and loss.
So, does everybody Mr. Brett, is this the kind of detail that you were looking for?
I understand it. I was getting questions from folks, more than one, more than two, saying, every month Martha gets up there and asks for $20,000 or $30,000, and you guys say, okay. Well, we know what it's for, but not everybody else did. So they were just asking me, so now it's explained. Hopefully they were watching, and they also know.
So,
Well, the other thing to remember is, when I get up and answer, that's also what we agreed upon on the budget last year. Right.
right, and I think, Mr. Klutner first. Mr. Crankle, get
Not
you.
included in this is the $50,000 loan for payroll and stuff, correct?
The loan to the LLC is on the balance sheet. It's nothing to do with
But it doesn't have anything to do with this.
correct.
So if we approve this request for $66,000, year to date, that will be $330,000 of the monthly request. So April, June, July, all those monthly requests. Not the debt service, not the renovations, just the weed and feed portion of it.
Okay.
Okay, do you anticipate any additional requests in December?
I anticipate there will be a request that will be made for some, like we did last year, or earlier this year, in that neighborhood, that will have to be funded in some manner. Now,
Well, when you say in that neighborhood, I don't follow that.
well, we won't know what it is. It's $4,500 worth of utilities a month, so that's part of it. Agronomics, it's gonna be, you've got 16,000, so, it would be, it's hard to say. It's gonna be.
That'll be done in January though, not in December.
Yes, it won't be done it could be done we could have a meeting in December and get it up to date in December and.
Well, whether we do in December or January, we're still requesting it for expenses incurred in December.
Yes.
From now until the next meeting, essentially. That's basically how we've done it through this.
Well, if we do that, we're at 330 now. Let's say next month is 50, just for sake of conversation.
Correct,
That takes us up to 380.
correct.
The entire amenities budget for next year is 440, did I
No,
hear?
it's, I don't know, we have to look it up. I don't know.
It's about around that. It's
That's
not
about
500.
It's 885 total is the assessment.
Right.
I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it right off the tip of my tongue either, so it's gonna eat into next year's available funds for improvements. I mean,
Yes.
that's what it is. That's exactly what.
Well, I mean, if you take the debt service on top of this, we're at 330 now, and if we take 50, that's 380. And if we add 186 on debt service, that's 380 plus 100, 480 plus 86 on top of that.
We have nothing for
That's
for
5,
improvements.
pardon?
We have nothing for improvements.
Well, we don't even have enough to cover the debt service and the monthly.
No, I
No,
don't know where your math is going. Bill, do you have that? Because you have everything in that folder.
All I did, if you go back to the last slide,
actually, it's in my November newsletter.
Can you go back to the last slide, please, Savannah? Just, you added what? You added the requests?
yeah, the March request, the June request, the July request, the August request, the September, and October request. I just added the November request, and now we got the December request. That's when I'm coming up with that number.
Yeah, it's just an inch.
473.14 each.
Okay, 473.14 times 1,061. That's what the
473.
473 times 1,061.
So we have well, if we incur the same monthly request next year,
For the next period.
well, no, next year.
Oh, next year.
In 2021, that would be 380,000, because that would be the same amount as we incurred this year.
Okay.
Then you add the 186 in debt service to it.
Okay.
Well,
Are you with me?
Well, kind of, but I'm not sure your math is following what I'm thinking. But I'm listening to you.
No, you're on target, keep going.
Yeah, this is short.
I'm saying the monthly request,
We-
year to date, not including this month.
Right.
Just the monthly request is 330,000.
And I don't know if Savannah has that from where we
Well,
have
I just
the
added up March, June, July,
Okay.
request.
Okay, so you added it up.
Yeah, I added it up,
Okay.
now we got another 66,000. So that takes us to 330, then if we add, let's say it's 50 for the month of December,
Right.
that takes us to 380.
Okay.
Now we add the debt service to that.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
380 plus 186,000, correct?
Exactly.
182.
182,000.
Yeah. But that's assuming that you're gonna request the same amount of money next year.
Right, and the average for the last 3 years has been around $200,000 that we've approved. This
On the
year,
monthly request.
it's been an average, and if I had that spreadsheet, I'd show it to you. But we have on the second page of this one that the CAM provides, it has the monthly operational draw, and it averages about 200,000. Now this year, that's the COVID impact to
Yeah.
operations. So yes.
I
Yeah, 'cause that
don't
winds up
expect,
to 562,000.
Well, if everything went exactly the same way and we had the same sort of impact, yes, we said that during one of the workshops, that if the,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
we're
the-
not gonna be able to do anything next year.
we're tightening our belt and doing, and we're gonna have to sit and hope that we have great golf and we have the assessment, right, Steve? I feel you, back in, and the LLC is able to pay an assessment to kind of offset and mitigate that.
and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we continue to get the same pool inspector, and we're hoping that the second pump on the pool, we had to replace one this year we didn't plan on.
Yeah.
We're keeping our fingers crossed that that one doesn't blow. I mean, there's some finger crossing going on as opposed to just not spending money.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, thank you.
Well, I mean, I think there's a pretty logical assumption that if things don't change, that we're in for a special assessment in sometime in the summer. We're gonna have to go to our residents, and gonna have to ask them for money.
Yeah.
If the
Okay,
pool
thank you.
goes, or if we have to replace the pumps in Greenfield, or if COVID hits again, it swings back around and shuts down things. we're gonna have to face the fact that because we're dangling out there hoping 3 or 4 hopes. One of those hopes may not happen. And that's a consequence that we'll have to face somewhere down the line. Now, hopefully we have a bang-out season and we can add revenue to it, because that's the commitment from the LLC based on the loan documents, so hopefully. But you won't realize that until we get to 2022, when the LLC's financials are done, till March of 2022.
I got it.
So that's a long way in the future.
One other thing I want to mention, since we're talking about, down the road, everybody needs to keep in mind that if we shut down this building and it was only open for golf, so they could come in and go to the bathroom, okay? This building, generally in its utilities, runs around $4,000 a month. So that's one of those fixed expenses you've got, whether you're getting anything for it or not. And that's something that can run us into the hole when we run into this COVID stuff.
So, and to add a little bit to that, that's just the utility expense. That doesn't set up anything to start replacing air conditioners, or, at some point you'll have to, all those things that we talked about in the reserve, they're real things. So you've got a $50,000 minimum just to keep the building, unless you bulldoze it, to just keep it viable. You can't, if you shut it down, if you shut operations and put me in a shack out there in the pro shop, this building still costs $50,000 to run. So, it's not nothing. So you can do whatever, but it's still going to cost you $50,000.
We listened when we had our variety of several board workshops and meetings. We really did listen. I went back, Ben went back, Bill looked at his drainage. I went back and tried to slice and see what could we cut for next year. Again, not knowing what COVID's going to do. Knowing that it was the general will of the board that they did not want to spend any money, or as little as possible, okay? We took that into consideration, and I hope I made myself clear when I voted for that, which I did. I supported what initially came up, was that as long as you guys know that we have fingers crossed on some things. That just has to be the awareness going into it. I'm not arguing against it. I'm voting with you, okay? You just have to be aware, that we are crossing fingers.
Okay, any questions? That's it.
Bob, I'm more serious.
Okay, Mr. Howell.
Well, I think most of my fellow presidents are probably sitting in the same hot seat I'm sitting in right now. Everybody's mad about the $185. That's what we decided on. And everybody in my HOA, we have a meeting here tomorrow night, it's probably gonna run 2 or 3 hours. Because everybody's got me in their gun shop. The truth is, we didn't need $185. We needed the $300 that we asked for. Somehow or the other, there seems to be a perception in the community and among some of the board that we wait till September when we start the budget process, right? That's when we started. And the presumption is that a group of people that make up this committee and a group that make up that committee and a group makes up that one just pulls numbers out of the air. We've been making budgets for 40 years. So when the budgets are put up there by the committees, then that committee's been meeting for years, making annual budgets, all of them. The only new committee came on in 2017 with the amenities. And before they actually came up here and made a recommendation for the 2018 year to raise the assessment $150, they spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in meetings trying to figure out the lease that we needed to do to get started. So when Mark makes the comment, and Mark's dead right, the 185,000 very possibly won't even cause us to break even next year. And I say to my residents that have approached me before tomorrow night's meeting, at a minimum, this board's gonna have to come back at the next budget year and ask for that 115,000 that we didn't get this year. And there's no way around it. And I'm probably gonna get voted out of my position as president because I just refuse to not wear the twin hat that comes with being a president. And there are people in your, because I talk to all of you, and there are people in your community that think every time you come up here to vote, you should have polled your community first. And by whatever number of people took the poll, then if the majority was this way, that's how you vote. If the majority was that way, that's how you vote. Well, you know what happens if we decide that we're going to operate that way? We just shut the whole damn thing down and decide we're going to pay the bank back $2 million over the 15 years, and we didn't accomplish a stinking thing. I can't. I mean, I've got people in my board tomorrow night. They're going to propose we term limit presidents, we term limit committee members, we term limit chairman, we term limit Bob, and yet we're all volunteers. I don't have a full board right now. I'm going to make sure. Most of you don't have the number of board members that your documents say that you can have, the maximum number. We're from 3 to 9. We've only had 9 members 1 year since John Wood turned this over to us 10 years ago. And then you got somebody that doesn't want to do a damn thing in the community, turn around and tell me that we ought to term limit the people willing to do the work. So there's an argument, and I say this to my fellow presidents, and it's a hard one to make. And one of the people in my community accused me yesterday of having a temper. You're damn right I got a temper. Because I'm sick of people that don't care and won't come to the meetings and won't participate, won't serve on committees, won't, and then turn around and get on me because I come down here and I'm looking at this golf and country club that I want to stay in a place I moved into, and I'm willing to pay for it, and I'm willing to take the heat, and I've got to the point where I just don't appreciate it. I had one guy tell me yesterday in an email, and I'm glad he sent it to an email because I forwarded it to my whole board, and then I answered the jerk. So he's proposing, I don't know, it's so stupid it went right out of my mind. I'm just, you know what? We got a job to do, guys and ladies. And it's really, if Cypresswood Golf and Country Club is going to be that, then somehow, and I can't tell you I ain't found out how to make it smooth running in my own HOA. But we have to somehow find a way to get calmed down. And you hear me saying calm down, right? And the whole country's upset. We got COVID, we got the political situation going on, and then we got our situation going on here, trying to make what we decided to do in 2017 work. So we need to be very supportive of one another.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Howell. Mark?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment.
Come on up, sir.
There hasn't been a lot of new construction at Cypresswood a number of years now, other than an individual here or there occasionally. But this past year now, we've had 2 houses built that sold at what they were listed for. And now we have 2 additional houses being built, both in Palmacia, and both are going to be in a parade of homes. Well, Cypresswood hasn't been in a parade of homes in probably 10 or 15 years. But the word is getting out there. And folks, we have to have the patience and the fortitude to make this happen. You know, it's the old adage, if you build it, they will come, and we are close. We're getting close. I mean, and one of the houses is John Wood House, and he sees what's going on in the community, obviously, but the other one is a builder from Lakeland, and he sees what's going on, and he wants to put a house in a parade, the next parade of homes at Cypresswood. That's exactly what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to get the word out there, and it's getting out there. I mean, that golf tournament, I mean, these folks, Bill Shira, Martha, I mean, the hours Bob puts in are ridiculous. Just ridiculous number of hours to make this community go. And folks, we have got to support them. We have got to bite the bullet sooner or later. I mean, I'm fighting like hell right now to try, I'm not going to go through another year with that pump on 15 with the way it is. I'm not going to be standing in the canal with rubber boots on, filling sandbags, trying to stop the water from coming back in on the canal.
It wouldn't be the first time we did that, would it?
Yeah, that's not going to happen again. By hook or by crook, that pump is going to get replaced this year. Bill and I have been fighting that for a long time. But folks, it costs a certain amount to maintain this community, just as it costs a certain amount to maintain your home. And there's no way around it. You got to replace that roof, you got to fix that air conditioning, you got to keep that irrigation system up, you know, you got to paint the exterior. It all applies to this community just as well. And really, I can understand why Mike is so upset. Because of those of us that have been working on this for years, we don't want to see the can kicked down the road. We need to get to the point where it's just, okay, folks, we're there now. We have the sufficient funds to operate this community, and what we have to ask for in the future is just that we need in order to cover the cost increase that occur as a result of things we can't control, or something that you would like to add to this community that we don't have now. Exercise stations, dog stations, doggy water fountains, whatever it may be, okay? But folks, sooner or later, we have to figure out a way to get there. But we're getting there, we're close. When we have parade homes being built in Cypresswood after 15 years, what does that tell you? That guy's going to come in here and put that house in Palmacia, and I'm sure that house is going to be well over $400,000. He's investing that kind of money in his community because he thinks he can make some money. That's what we've been trying to accomplish since 2017. So just think about it. Thank you.
I want to bring it back to the budget. We all tentatively agreed in our last workshop that the dues for 2021 would be $885 per unit. Okay? I'm not saying that's passed yet. That's what was. No, that was passed. Okay. Now, out of that, $411.88, this is on a per unit basis, is going to pay CCA stuff, roads, drainage, landscaping. You take that number, you multiply it by 1,061, that's the total. $411.86 covers all that stuff, that Cypresswood stuff. Out of that $885, $473.14 goes to the amenity side. Out of that, again, when you multiply it and put it in the big pot together, how much? 182,000 come right off the top. Okay? What's left from that goes to repair, maintenance, and if anything else is left and doesn't fall apart, then we get to improve something. Now that $885 that was approved comes out to $73.75 a month per unit in Cypresswood for 2021. So I just wanted to try and tie us back to the budget. I don't know that you need me anymore.
Anybody else have any comments? I will say that this process that we went through with all the workshops and all the meetings and all those things have brought us to a place that we've never been to before, and it was requested by some of the folks about a different level of transparency. And this is what this is. Now, some people are going to look at these numbers and go, holy crap, and maybe they should. But this level of transparency is a commitment that we have made and will continue to make. It wasn't hidden before, but now it will be out on the screen, it will be put on the website, and people can see where their money is going. And I think that if anything good comes out of that process of the fights we had and the arguments that we went through in that process, like our friend Mr. Potter says, you mean you guys do this every year? Well, yes we do, because we care and we want to make sure we spend our residents' money the right way. So, next slide please, Savannah. So we have a request for $66,000. Do I have a motion to approve it? Mr. Howells,
Go ahead.
Mr. Howells made the motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Shire has made a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion, Mr. McCullough?
Yes. Can you break down what the 66,000 is for? I can't read that.
Well, okay. I mean, it's repairs and maintenance, utilities, insurance. It's all the net down of all that stuff. Golf course agronomics is in there. Other amenity improvements, which we can detail if we need to. Those are just all the stuff that goes into it. And the course renovation, the remainder of the course renovation, which went slightly over budget. It's also got that cart path improvement that you approved a few meetings ago. That's back in there. But that's the net balance of the amenities request. But you'll be able to, you'll see it. Yes, sir, Mr. Butcher.
We have 48 days left till the year's end. That 16,000 is supposed to cover that 48-day period?
No, sir, it won't, unless there's, it's not going to. It's what I said earlier, that the amount the board approved at the beginning, or the January meeting in 2020, for the remainder of the year expenses after this meeting last year to that meeting this year, where it's that 60-day-ish period, that was that balance. So if all things were the same, I would expect that this money would be subtracted from that money, leaving a balance of approximately $40,000 that would have to come from general reserves. Unless there's golf course or LLC contribution to that would offset some of that, which will be unknown until we get to the end of the year. Depends on how cash flow goes. So that's a $40,000 difference that would have to be made up in another area. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. It passes. Thank you, everybody. Next slide, please, Savannah. New business, Mr. Shire.
Thank you. Once again, it's my privilege to be your nominating committee for our officers for next year. The slate that we've prepared includes Bob Shade as president, Rick Reese as vice president, Ben Tucker as the treasurer, and Ed Palmer as the secretary. I present this as the slate. The all existing officers wish to carry their duties forward.
Are there any nominations from board members other than that, or can the nominations be closed?
I'll make a motion the nominations be closed.
Do we have a second to that motion? Second, Mr. Klutner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept these willing people to their positions?
So moved.
Mrs. Palmer has made such a recommendation. Mr. McCullough, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, I think.
Bob,
Yes.
just to
okay?
How much money do each of these people earn a year? What does the CCA pay?
The cumulative amount of all 4 positions is a grand total of $0.00, Mr. Hammond.
Thank you. I wanted that on record.
That is
because-
on record for eternity on YouTube, actually, which has a lot more viewers than Zoom does. So
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know
there's a
that.
lot of people who are going to know that.
But there are several people who have assured me that those 4 officers are making a ton of money, okay? And I want to be sure that that's
And how much
not-
do you make?
What?
How much do you make?
For my.
As vice president.
0.
Okay.
That's right. We are a group of volunteers working for the betterment of a community. That's our goal. Any other new business we need to bring up? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Kutner is first. He gets it. We are adjourned. And we'll see you next year unless there's a meeting called earlier.
30 people.